So why settle for anything less than pure? Choose Purity Coffee and join us on a journey towards a healthier you and a healthier planet. Because when it comes to coffee, purity is the ultimate quality measure.
Hi, and welcome to Sovereign Sisters Podcast, where we break down weird history and real stories that actually matter. I'm your host, Angela Atkins of Your Health Unbound. And I hope you had a beautiful day. The weather here in the Mid-Atlantic was just gorgeous. I needed to go outside and get in touch with nature, but I'm not sure how long the sunny days will last because I saw them streaking the sky. So I know rain is on the way in a day or two, but enough of that. Let's move on to today's episode. I hope this is fun for you because it's just a short, quirky little talk about one of the weirdest unofficial holidays in the world. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day. It's a day when fake news is encouraged, pranks are expected, and everyone walks around a little suspicious. But where did it all start? Why do we even celebrate it? And what strange real things have actually happened on April 1st? So let's start with the backstory. What are the historical origins? Well, April Fool's Day doesn't have a clear origin story, which honestly is kind of perfect for a day that's all about confusion. But there are a few leading theories. The first one is calendar confusion. Back in 1582, France made a big switch from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, as ordered by Pope Gregory XIII. That shifted the New Year's Day from late March or early April to January 1st. But not everyone got the memo, or they refused to adopt the new date. Some people kept celebrating New Year's in the spring. Well, they became the butt of jokes and were mocked for being behind the times. People will play tricks on them, even sticking paper fish on their backs and calling them April fish, but more on that later. That might be where the tradition of pranks being played began on April 1st, but there are other older traditions too. The Romans had a festival called Hilaria around the end of March. It was all about disguises and mockery, where they mocked each other and the authorities. In medieval Europe, the Feast of Fools was a full-scale role reversal and satire. So it's also likely that pranks and jokes about spring existed in multiple cultures without a single point of origin. Well, April 1st must have just been the day that caught on, and thanks to the association with seasonal change, it came with also mischief. So maybe April Fool's Day isn't just from one source. Maybe it's just humans enjoying fooling with each other. So let's talk about the strange, the ironic, and the just plain unbelievable things that have happened on April 1st. In 1957, the BBC aired what became one of the most legendary April Fool's Day pranks ever. On their current affairs show, Panorama, they ran a 3-minute segment showing Swiss farmers in the Ticino region harvesting strands of spaghetti from trees. Women gently plucked noodles from the branches and laid them out in the sun to dry. And the narrator explains it was a bumper harvest thanks to the eradication of the spaghetti weevil. So let's take a look at it.
It isn't only in Britain that spring this year has taken everyone by surprise. Here, in the Ticino, on the borders of Switzerland and Italy, the slopes overlooking Lake Lugano have already burst into flower, at least a fortnight earlier than usual. But what, you may ask, has the early and welcome arrival of bees and blossom to do with food? Well, it's simply that the past winter, one of the mildest in living memory, has had its effect in other ways as well. Most important of all, it's resulted in an exceptionally heavy spaghetti crop. The last 2 weeks of March are an anxious time for the spaghetti farmer. There's always the chance of a late frost, which, while not entirely ruining the crop, generally impairs the flavor and makes it difficult for him to obtain top prices in world markets. But now these dangers are over, and the spaghetti harvest goes forward. Spaghetti cultivation here in Switzerland is not, of course, carried out on anything like the tremendous scale of the Italian industry. Many of you, I'm sure, will have seen pictures of the vast spaghetti plantations in the Po Valley. For the Swiss, however, it tends to be more of a family affair. Another reason why this may be a bumper year lies in the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil, the tiny creature whose depredations have caused much concern in the past. After picking, the spaghetti is laid out to dry in the warm alpine sun. Many people are often puzzled by the fact that spaghetti is produced at such uniform length, but this is the result of many years of patient endeavor by plant breeders who've succeeded in producing the perfect spaghetti. And now, the harvest is marked by a traditional meal. Toasts to the new crop are drunk in these poccolinos, and then the waiters enter bearing the ceremonial dish, and it is, of course, spaghetti, picked earlier in the day, dried in the sun, and so brought fresh from garden to table at the very peak of condition. For those who love this dish, there's nothing like real homegrown spaghetti.
Funny, isn't it? But people actually believed it. In 1957, spaghetti was still considered a foreign delicacy in the UK, so many people had no idea how it was made. Viewers called in and asked how to grow their own spaghetti trees, and the BBC coolly replied, place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce and hope for the best. It's just too funny, a great prank. I think it's one of the best. Then in 2004, Google launched Gmail. It offered a shocking 1 gigabyte of free storage. Well, at the time, most email providers only gave you 2 to 4 megabytes, so 1 gigabyte sounded absurd. It's like someone added a few too many zeros. And it dropped on April 1st, so naturally people assumed it was a joke. But nope, Gmail was real. Fast, clean, minimalist, and absurdly generous in storage. It managed to reshape email forever. It forced competitors to play catch up, and it helped turn Google into a software giant. But yet, you should double check your email that it isn't trying to sell you a llama. You'll see what I mean. So in 1976, British astronomer Patrick Moore went on the BBC Radio 2 with an unusual announcement. He claimed that at exactly 9:47 a.m., Pluto would pass beyond Jupiter, creating a rare gravitational alignment. This alignment, he said, would temporarily weaken Earth's gravity. Well, Moore told listeners that if they jumped in the air at the exact moment, they would experience a floating sensation. Well, it sounded scientific, it sounded legit, but of course it was a prank. But people bought it. Listeners called in claiming they actually felt lighter or they floated around a second longer than usual. One woman even said that she and 11 of her friends had risen from their chairs and started floating around the room. Well, Moore had the last laugh. And a lot of people have learned not to take physics lessons from the radio on April 1st. But on a more serious note, April 1st, 1946, there was a massive earthquake that struck off the coast of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. It measured 8.6 on the Richter scale and triggered a powerful tsunami that raced across the Pacific. In Hawaii, the wave hit the Big Island just hours later with almost no warning. Hilo, a town on the East Coast, was devastated. The water surged inland, destroying buildings, sweeping people away, and killing 159 residents. Some people reportedly dismissed the early warnings, thinking it might be an April Fool's prank. Well, this event led to the creation of the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center the following year. This is a tragic reminder that on April 1st, not everything is a joke, and sometimes timing can cost lives. But nowadays, April Fool's is also a marketing gold mine. In 1996, Taco Bell pulled off a bold April Fool's Day stunt. They took out a full-page ad in major newspapers like the New York Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer. The ad claimed that the fast food chain had purchased the Liberty Bell in an effort to help reduce the national debt. And now it would be known as the Taco Liberty Bell. Well, it sparked outrage. People called the National Park Service in a panic, furious that the national symbol had been sold off to a taco company. Now, I've made a caricature to show you because the real image is copyrighted, but can you imagine seeing this and saying, your Liberty Bell is now the Taco Liberty Bell? How crazy is that? But by midday, Taco Bell revealed that it was all a joke. But they followed up with a second ad that read, we hope we didn't go too far. Our intentions were purely humorous. But even the White House got in on it. Press Secretary Mike McCurry joked that the Lincoln Memorial has been sold and would now be called the Ford Lincoln Mercury Memorial. It's corporate trolling at its finest. So Google, Netflix, even Amazon have pulled off elaborate fake product launches. Google is well known for this. In 2013, they announced Google Knows, a fictional feature that let users search for smells online. Let me play that for you.
Google search is incredibly powerful, and you can search for text across the internet, most of human knowledge, images, books, videos. But we'd realized there was an important part of the search experience that we'd overlooked.
Our task as designers is to get our users the information they're looking for as quickly and as beautifully as possible. But until now, we couldn't always give users what they're looking for, because sometimes they're not looking at all.
My wife and I have a puppy with so much energy that we walk her 5 times a day, and she sniffs around every nook and cranny. This is how she gets information about her world.
Photo, auditory, olfactory, sensory convergence is a phenomenon that's been promised in science fiction for decades.
We're excited to announce Google Knows Beta, our flagship olfactory knowledge feature enabling users to search for smells.
Our mobile aroma indexing program has been able to amass a 15 million centibyte database of smells from around the world.
With an elegant integration into our existing knowledge panels, the Google Knows Beta smell button seamlessly connects scent to search.
By intersecting photons with infrasound waves, Google Knows Beta temporarily aligns molecules to emulate a particular scent.
In the fast-paced world that we live in, we don't always have time to stop and smell the roses. Now, with Google Knows Beta, the roses are just a click away.
If you have a question like, what does a new car smell like? Who knows the answer?
Google knows.
What does a ghost smell like?
Google knows.
What does the inside of an Egyptian tomb smell like?
Google knows.
Google knows.
Google Knows Beta.
It may not be as great as spaghetti trees, but that's pretty funny that people bought it. And then another year, Google comes up with a claim they're hiring a position for the moon. How many times can people fall into this trap? Pretty funny. But then Netflix joined in by releasing a joke trailer for absurd original shows, like one starring John Stamos, reviewing himself. And then Amazon got pretty cheeky with the fictional Alexa upgrades, like a pet translator mode or a literal Alexa for the toilet. Now, these fake launches are over the top, but that's the point. They parody startup culture, overhyped innovation, and our willingness to believe in anything tech-related, especially if it's got a shiny brand name on it. Some are clever, some are cringe. I'd never do an Alexa in the toilet. Well, I'd never do an Alexa, period. But it shows how brands love to get in on the joke as long as we're all laughing with them. So in France, April Fool's Day is known as Poisson d'avril, meaning April fish, which I mentioned earlier. Now, this is a tradition especially popular among school kids. Let me give you a kind of a visualization of that. So here you see they have cutouts of colorful fish, and they tape them and sneak them onto the backs of unsuspecting people like their classmates, their teachers, or even their parents. And when the fish is discovered, everyone yells, Poisson d'avril. It's lighthearted, it's playful, and a little more innocent than what you might see in American office pranks. Now, the fish symbolizes someone who's been tricked, a fool basically, but in a way that's more charming than cruel. And some bakeries even sell fish-shaped treats just for that occasion. Well, there are multicultural types of traditions that go along with April Fools. And in Iran, there is a centuries-old tradition called Sidas Bedar. It takes place on the 13th day of Nowruz, the Persian New Year, which usually falls around April 1st or 2nd. Now, families pack up, head outdoors to picnic, relax, and enjoy nature. It's all about letting go of bad vibes and misfortune, because 13 is considered unlucky. So people symbolically throw out the bad luck. On the lighter parts of the day, they include telling jokes and playing harmless pranks. Think of it as Iran's own version of April Fools, but with kebabs, riverside dancing, and deep cultural roots. It's joyful, communal, and grounded in a mix of fun and tradition. But now Scotland used to go big for April Fool's traditions, not just one day, but two. The first was called Hunt the Gawk Day. A gawk is a Spanish word for a cuckoo bird. It's also slang for a fool. On this day, people would send their friends on ridiculous fake errands, like delivering letters that secretly said, "Send the fool further," so the prank chain could keep going all day long. Then came day two, Tally Day. Well, this one's dedicated to butt-related jokes. The classic gags including pinning signs on the person's back that said, "Kick me." And yes, this is where many people think the iconic office prank got started. The Scots were truly pioneers of prank culture. Let me also show you a kind of setup for that. So they would post the kick me sign on someone's back, and we've seen this many times over in different settings, but it's pretty funny how it's attributed to the Scottish. And maybe so, because in my heritage, they're Scottish, and I do like pranks myself. So why does April Fool's Day work? Well, maybe it's because we like being surprised. Or maybe we just like watching other people fall for something goofy. Or maybe it just feels good to stop taking life so seriously for 24 hours. Just remember, life and reality is weird enough. You don't need April 1st to get fooled. Because when I was talking about finding stuff in your mail, this again is a caricature, maybe you'll get that free llama. You just have to keep your eye out for the spam, because in the spam, maybe there is a joke. But I really want to thank you for being with me here today, just to enjoy this lightheartedness. If you like this episode, send it to someone who's been epically pranked, or better yet, prank them with it. Make sure you hit the follow button so you don't miss the next deep dive on strange history and real stories. You should subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with anyone who could use a laugh or a warning. It does help the show grow, and it means a lot to me. And if you didn't like it, maybe this whole podcast was just an early April Fool's joke. But before we go, I'm going to ask you a favor. This is kind of aside from April Fool's. If anyone knows of a quiet, preferably silent, cordless mouse that's reasonably priced, please put it in the comments on the channel you're watching. I seriously need an upgrade from this clickety-click one that I hear all through the podcast. So thanks so much. And as always, until next time, I wish you God bless.